There is something most men never realize, and it costs them more than they know. By the time a woman finally tells you she likes you, she has already liked you for a while. Maybe weeks. Maybe longer. She has already thought about you, already noticed you, already made a quiet decision inside her mind. But she never said a word. And most men, they were completely unaware the whole time. That is the strange reality of female attraction. It does not announce itself. It does not send you a clear message. It does not wave a flag and say, "Hey, she's interested." Instead, it moves quietly, slowly, through small shifts in behavior, through subtle changes that are easy to miss if you are not paying attention. Women rarely express attraction through words first. That is just not how it works for most of them. The feelings come first. The internal emotional shift happens first. And then, long before she ever says anything out loud, the behavior starts to change. She starts acting a little differently around you. Small things. Things that might not even register at first. But they are there. They have always been there, quietly telling you what she has not said yet. Most men wait for the obvious signal, the clear confession, the direct statement. And because they are waiting for something loud, they completely miss everything that was already happening. That is exactly what this video is about. Today, we are going to break down 4 clear signs that a woman has already chosen you emotionally, already picked you, even if she has never actually said the words. These are not random guesses. These are rooted in how female attraction actually works psychologically, how it builds, how it moves, and how it eventually becomes visible through behavior long before it becomes visible through words. So stay with me, because by the end of this, you are going to start seeing things you were missing before. But before we go deeper, think about this for a moment. Have you ever looked back on a situation and realized she liked you way before you actually knew? Maybe there was a woman who started acting a little warmer toward you, a little more engaged. And at the time, you thought nothing of it. But later, when everything became clear, you realized those small moments were the beginning. If that has ever happened to you, drop it in the comments. Because you are not alone. And that experience is exactly what this video is going to explain. Now, before we get into the signs themselves, we need to understand something important about how female attraction actually develops. Because if you understand the psychology behind it, the signs will make complete sense. Female attraction is not a switch. It is not a sudden moment where everything changes. For most women, attraction builds gradually. It develops through observation, through emotional comfort, through small interactions that slowly accumulate meaning. A woman rarely meets a man and immediately decides she is fully interested. What usually happens is more quiet than that. She becomes curious. She starts paying attention. She begins noticing things about him. The way he carries himself. The way he speaks. The way he makes her feel when they are around each other. And during this period, she is not going to tell him any of this. She is still processing it internally, still letting it develop, still deciding whether what she is feeling is real or just surface-level interest. This is why so many men misread the situation. They are looking for direct signals, clear statements, obvious expressions of interest. But female attraction in its early stages is almost never that direct. It lives in the quiet spaces, in the small behavioral shifts, in the way her attention starts to move toward you without her even fully realizing it herself. And that brings us to the very first sign. Sign 1, the awareness shift. This one is subtle. And that is exactly why most men miss it completely. The first sign that a woman has already started choosing you emotionally is a quiet shift in her awareness of you. She becomes more tuned into your presence, more alert to when you enter a room, more responsive when you speak, more attentive to what you say and how you say it. You might notice that she smiles a little more when you are around, that she laughs slightly faster at things you say, that her body naturally turns toward you in group situations, that she seems just a little more alive when you are nearby. Now here is the important thing. None of this is loud. None of it is obvious. It is subtle enough that if you blinked, you would miss it. If you were not paying close attention, you would assume she is just being friendly. But there is a difference between friendliness and awareness. And that difference is in the consistency, in the direction, in the way her attention keeps finding its way back to you. Attraction heightens emotional sensitivity toward a specific person. It is a psychological response. When a woman begins developing feelings for someone, that person starts occupying more of her mental and emotional space. And that internal shift starts showing up externally through these small but consistent behavioral changes. She is not doing this consciously. Most of the time, she does not even realize she is doing it. But it is happening. And it is one of the earliest visible signs that something has already shifted inside her. Now here is where many men make their first big mistake. The moment they notice this kind of attention, they start performing. They start trying to impress. They become louder, more animated, more eager to be seen. They try to capitalize on the attention by showing off. And that is almost always the wrong move. Because she was attracted to who you were before you started performing. The moment you begin overreaching to impress her, you start undermining the very thing that caught her attention in the first place. The right move is to stay exactly who you are. Calm, grounded, present, aware of the shift without reacting to it like it is a reward you need to chase. Stability is attractive. Desperation is not. And men who can remain steady when they feel interest from a woman are the ones who tend to keep that interest growing. This is just the beginning. Because the awareness shift is only the first layer. What happens next is where the real signals start to become clearer. And that is exactly where we are going next. So now you understand the first sign. The quiet awareness shift. That subtle moment when her attention starts finding its way toward you more consistently. When her energy changes slightly in your presence. When she becomes more responsive, more attuned, more alive around you without making it obvious. That is the beginning. But attraction does not stay in one place. It moves. It develops. It builds layer by layer as long as the conditions are right. And once that first shift happens, something else begins to follow. She starts looking for reasons to interact. Sign 2, the attention shift. Here is where things start to become a little more visible. The second sign that a woman has already picked you emotionally is when she begins actively creating small moments of interaction with you. Now, she is not going to walk up to you and say, "I really enjoy talking to you, and I would like to spend more time doing that." That is not how this works. Instead, what she does is far more subtle. She starts finding casual reasons to initiate contact. Small questions, light comments, a text about something random that reminded her of a conversation you had, a playful remark during a group setting, a casual "how was your day" that feels like nothing on the surface, but is actually her quietly reaching toward you. She might find reasons to linger in conversations longer than she needs to. She might look for you in a room full of people. She might bring up topics she knows you enjoy just to keep the exchange going a little longer. She is creating connection moments. On purpose. But in a way that is casual enough to feel like it could just be nothing. And this is exactly where most men misread the situation. They see these small moments and think, "She is just being friendly." And sometimes that thought is correct. Friendliness is real and it exists. But there is a significant psychological difference between a woman who is generally friendly and a woman who keeps finding you specifically to initiate interaction. The difference is in the pattern. A generally friendly person distributes their warmth broadly. They are warm with everyone. But when a woman is developing feelings for someone specific, her attention starts to narrow. The small initiations become more directed, more consistent, more specific to that one person. She is not doing this with everyone. She is doing this with you. And that pattern is the signal. Here is something else interesting that happens during this phase. Eye contact begins to change. In group settings, even when she is talking to someone else, her eyes might briefly find yours. Not in an obvious, dramatic way, but in a quiet, instinctive way that she may not even be fully conscious of. It is her emotional attention expressing itself through something as simple as where her eyes naturally go. Now, the mistake men make at this stage is escalating too fast. They notice her initiating contact. They feel excited, and that excitement pushes them to suddenly increase their own contact dramatically. More texts, more conversations, more attempts to create interaction, more energy directed toward her all at once. And this usually creates the opposite effect of what they intended. Because attraction at this stage is still fragile, it is still forming. It needs space to breathe and develop naturally. When a man suddenly floods the space with attention and energy the moment he senses interest, it feels overwhelming. It disrupts the natural rhythm of what was slowly building. The right response is to match her energy gradually. Let her lead the pace a little. Respond warmly, but do not flood. Stay calm. Stay consistent. Create space for the dynamic to grow naturally rather than forcing it forward. Because the next sign only appears when she feels emotionally safe enough to let it happen. Sign 3, the emotional connection. This is the one that matters most. And it is also the most meaningful. The third sign that a woman has already chosen you emotionally is when she begins sharing personal parts of herself with you. Not just surface-level conversation. Not just light small talk about movies or weekend plans. But real things. Personal things. The kind of things people only share when they feel genuinely comfortable with someone. She starts talking about her day in more detail. She mentions something that frustrated her or made her happy. She brings up a memory, a thought, a struggle, a dream. She shares something about herself that goes beyond the social surface. And here is the psychological truth behind this. People do not open up emotionally to people they are indifferent toward. Emotional sharing requires a sense of safety and trust. It requires some level of feeling seen and understood by the other person. When a woman begins sharing personal thoughts and experiences with a specific man, she is not doing it randomly. She is doing it because something inside her has decided that this person is safe. That this person is worth opening up to. That this person matters enough to allow a glimpse past the surface. This is one of the deepest early signs of emotional attraction. Because she is not just enjoying his company anymore. She is beginning to bond with him. She is beginning to weave her emotional world into the connection. You might also notice that the conversations start naturally going deeper on their own. Topics shift from casual to meaningful. She begins asking about your thoughts on things that actually matter to her. She starts being genuinely curious about your perspective. Not just making conversation, but actually wanting to know what is going on inside your mind. This is emotional investment beginning to form. And it is significant. Because once a woman begins emotionally investing in someone, that person starts occupying real psychological space in her life. She thinks about conversations after they end. She remembers things he said. She reflects on moments they shared. He becomes part of her internal world even when he is not physically present. Now, the mistake men often make during this phase is responding too casually. They are so used to surface-level interaction that when a woman begins opening up emotionally, they do not match the depth. They deflect with humor. They keep things light when she is trying to go deeper. And this sends a quiet signal that he is not a safe emotional space for her. The right response is to meet her openness with genuine attention. To listen without immediately redirecting the conversation back to yourself. To acknowledge what she shares with presence and care. Because emotional openness is a gift. And the way a man receives that gift tells her everything about whether it is safe to give more of it. And when she decides it is safe, the fourth sign begins. Let us take a moment to acknowledge where we are. She has shifted her awareness toward you. She has begun creating small moments of interaction. She has started opening up emotionally and sharing personal parts of herself with you. These are not random behaviors. These are layered signals, each one building on the last. Each one showing you that something real is quietly developing beneath the surface. But now, something unexpected happens. And most men are completely unprepared for it when it does. Sign 4, the investment phase. Before we talk about the psychological test, we need to cover the fourth sign first. Because this one is one of the clearest indicators that she has already made an emotional decision about you. The fourth sign is when she begins investing genuine attention into the details of your life. Not just being politely interested during conversation. Not just nodding along. But actually remembering things. Actually following up. Actually showing that she has been thinking about what you shared, even when you were not around. She remembers that you mentioned something stressful at work, and she asks how it went. She remembers a goal you talked about and brings it up later. She asks questions about your interests, your ambitions, your history. Not in a way that feels like an interview, but in a way that feels like she genuinely wants to understand who you are. She follows up on previous conversations. She picks up threads from days ago and continues them. She references things you said in passing as if she stored them carefully and kept them. This is not small. Memory is attention, and attention is investment. When someone consistently remembers the details of your life, it means they have been thinking about you when you were not there. It means you occupy real mental and emotional space for them. She might also begin showing quiet forms of emotional support, encouraging you when you mention something difficult, celebrating small things with you, checking in without making it a big moment, just being present in that gentle, consistent way that feels completely natural, but is actually deeply intentional. This is her emotional world beginning to organize itself around you. And this is where many men make a critical mistake. They feel the investment. They sense the growing connection. And instead of staying grounded and consistent, they start to relax in the wrong way. They become complacent. They assume the attraction is locked in, that the work is done, that she is already fully committed and nothing needs to be maintained. And so they become inconsistent, less present, less attentive. They stop doing the things that created the connection in the first place. And this is one of the fastest ways to unravel something that was genuinely building. Attraction is not a destination. It is a living dynamic. It needs to be maintained through consistent presence, emotional stability, and genuine interest. The moment you stop being the person she was drawn to, the emotional momentum begins to slow. Stay consistent. Stay present. Stay grounded. Do not confuse investment from her as a reason to stop investing yourself. The psychological test. Now here is the part that catches almost every man off guard. Just when things seem to be going well, she pulls back slightly. Replies slow down. She becomes a little less available. The warmth that was building feels like it stepped back a few degrees. And for a man who was feeling the connection growing, this sudden shift feels confusing, unsettling, maybe even alarming. And this is exactly what it is designed to do. Not in a manipulative way, not with a calculated plan behind it, but in a deeply instinctive, psychological way that women often do without even fully realizing it. She is watching how you respond to uncertainty, because here is what she is really trying to understand at this point. She already feels the connection. She already knows something real is developing. But what she does not yet know is whether you are emotionally stable enough to handle the reality of a real dynamic. Can you remain calm when things feel uncertain? Can you maintain your sense of self when the reassurance is not coming as consistently? Or do you fall apart the moment the attention shifts slightly? This is the test. And most men fail it immediately. The moment they sense the slight distance, they panic. They overtext. They seek reassurance. They start asking what is wrong or whether everything is okay. They become anxious, and that anxiety bleeds into every interaction. They chase. And chasing is the clearest possible signal that you cannot handle emotional uncertainty without losing your composure. Neediness signals insecurity. And insecurity is one of the most powerful attraction killers that exists. The man who passes this test is the one who notices the shift and remains steady anyway. He does not disappear. He does not retaliate with his own distance to prove a point. He simply continues being himself. Calm. Consistent. Unbothered by the fluctuation. He trusts the connection enough not to panic when it breathes. And that emotional stability, that quiet confidence in the face of uncertainty, is one of the most powerfully attractive qualities a man can demonstrate. Because what she is ultimately looking for is someone whose emotional world does not completely depend on her behavior in a given moment. Someone who is grounded enough to be present without being desperate. Someone who can hold space without needing constant confirmation that everything is fine. That kind of emotional composure is rare. And when she sees it, it deepens her attraction in a way that words never could. The male mistake section. Let us be honest about the patterns that consistently undermine attraction. Because understanding the mistakes is just as important as understanding the signs. The most common mistake men make when they begin sensing interest from a woman is over-pursuing. They notice the signals. They feel the excitement. And that excitement transforms into urgency. They start texting too frequently, initiating contact too often, flooding her space with attention in a way that feels suffocating rather than attractive. They try too hard to impress. Every conversation becomes a performance. Every interaction feels like an audition. And she can feel that energy. Women are emotionally perceptive. They sense when a man is performing rather than simply being. They also seek constant reassurance, asking indirectly or directly whether she likes them, fishing for compliments or confirmation, looking for signs that everything is going well and becoming visibly anxious when those signs are not immediately available. All of these behaviors communicate the same underlying message. I am not confident in my own value. I need you to confirm it for me. And that message is deeply unattractive. Not because attraction is cruel, but because emotional security is fundamentally appealing. A man who knows his own worth without needing it constantly validated by someone else creates a very different impression than a man who is visibly seeking approval. The attractive posture is one of quiet confidence, genuine interest without desperation, presence without pressure, warmth without urgency. Stay grounded. And watch what grows from that groundedness. We have covered a lot of ground together. The quiet awareness shift at the beginning. The small moments of initiated contact. The emotional openness that begins to emerge as trust develops. The investment phase where she starts remembering your details and following up. The psychological test of distance and how the way a man responds either deepens or diminishes the attraction. All of these are pieces of the same larger picture. A woman who is developing real feelings does not always announce them. She reveals them. Slowly. Through behavior. Through patterns. Through the quiet but consistent way her world begins to organize itself around a specific person. And now we come to the final and perhaps most meaningful phase of all. The vulnerability phase. Something powerful happens when a woman truly trusts someone. She lets them see the parts of her that she does not show everyone. This is the vulnerability phase. And it is one of the most profound signs that she has already made a deep emotional decision about you. She starts sharing things that go beyond casual personal details. She talks about her past. About difficult experiences she has been through. About insecurities she carries quietly. About fears she does not often voice out loud. About the parts of her life that have shaped her in ways that were not always easy. She is not doing this with everyone. She is doing this with you. And the reason is deeply psychological. Vulnerability requires emotional safety. It requires a level of trust that takes time to build and cannot be faked or forced. When someone opens themselves up to show you the tender, unguarded parts of who they are, it means they believe you will not use those parts against them. It means they believe you will hold what they share with care. That level of trust is not given casually. It is earned. And it signals something significant about where she has placed you in her emotional world. When a woman reaches this phase with a man, she is not just interested in him anymore. She is emotionally bonded to him. She has allowed him into spaces she carefully guards from most people. And this is where the connection becomes genuinely deep. The right response in this phase is simple but powerful. Listen. Be present. Do not rush to fix or solve or offer immediate advice. Just hold space for what she is sharing. Let her feel heard. Let her feel that the parts of herself she just revealed are safe in your hands. That experience of being truly heard and held is one of the most powerful emotional experiences a person can have. And when a man provides that for a woman, he becomes associated with emotional safety in a way that is extremely difficult to replace. The final sign, the emotional choice. And then comes the moment where everything crystallizes. The final sign that a woman has already chosen you is when you become her natural priority. Not in a dramatic or stated way, but in the quiet, consistent way that real emotional choices reveal themselves. She seeks out your company naturally. Not because there is a reason or an occasion, but simply because being around you is where she wants to be. She finds reasons to include you in her day. She reaches out not to get something specific, but simply to connect. Her emotional responsiveness to you deepens. When you are down, she notices. When something good happens for you, she genuinely celebrates it. Your emotional state becomes something she is invested in. Not out of obligation, but because you matter to her in a real way. She prioritizes your interaction over others when it matters. She chooses your conversation over distractions. She gives you her real attention. Not the performative kind, the honest kind. And you will feel the difference. Because real emotional prioritization has a quality to it that is unmistakable. It feels like genuine presence. Like someone who is actually there with you rather than simply nearby. This is the emotional choice. This is her having already decided, quietly, privately, long before she ever said a word, that you are someone who matters to her. The deep psychological truth. Now let us talk about what all of this is really rooted in. Because underneath every sign we have discussed today, there is a common psychological thread. Women are drawn to emotional stability, not to performance, not to excessive pursuit, not to men who are constantly trying to prove their worth or impress at every opportunity, but to men who are calm, grounded, genuinely present, emotionally consistent regardless of what is happening around them. Attraction grows most naturally around men who know who they are and do not need constant external validation to feel confident in that. Men who can be warm without being desperate, interested without being obsessive, caring without losing their own sense of self in the process. There is also something else, and it is equally important. Intrigue. A man who is not fully readable. A man who has depth that reveals itself slowly. A man who does not give everything away immediately, but allows discovery to happen gradually, creates a kind of psychological pull that is genuinely powerful. Emotional safety combined with genuine intrigue is one of the most compelling combinations in attraction dynamics. It makes a woman feel secure enough to open up while simultaneously feeling drawn to know more. And the men who embody both of these qualities naturally, without forcing or performing either one, are the men that women remember. The ones they keep coming back to. The ones they quietly choose long before they ever say anything out loud. This is not about playing games. It is not about manipulation or strategy. It is about genuine emotional intelligence. About understanding how connection actually works. About being the kind of person whose presence creates a genuine and lasting impact. And that kind of presence cannot be faked. It has to be developed. It has to be lived from the inside out. So now I want you to think about something. Looking back at your own experiences, have you ever noticed these signs before you actually realized a woman liked you? Was there a time when a woman was shifting her awareness toward you and you missed it? A time when she was creating small moments of interaction and you wrote it off as friendliness? A time when she opened up emotionally and you did not fully understand what it meant? Most men, when they look back honestly, realize the signs were there all along. They just did not know what they were looking at. But now you do. And that changes everything. Because once you understand how female attraction actually moves, once you can recognize the quiet behavioral signals rather than waiting for the loud obvious ones, you stop missing what was always there. You start seeing clearly. If any of this connected with something in your own experience, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below and tell me. Have you ever looked back and realized she liked you before you knew? Have you ever missed these signs and only understood them later? Or maybe you are recognizing a situation right now as you watch this. Whatever it is, share it. Because the conversations in the comments are always some of the most honest and meaningful ones. And if this video gave you a new way of understanding something you were already experiencing, give it a like. It genuinely helps this content reach more people who need it. And if you want more psychology-based insights on attraction, relationships, and understanding human behavior at a deeper level, subscribe to the channel. Because this is exactly the kind of content we explore here. Calm, thoughtful, rooted in how people actually work. Not tricks, not games, just real understanding. And real understanding changes everything.